User's Log, January 10th, 2078. Happy New Year! I've been cruising steadily out into deep space for the past 10 days. There have been a few glitches along the way, but overall the ship has performed better than I could have hoped. The solar panels and battery array have done an excellent job of keeping my uranium use to a minimum, though I have paused to do some mining. Well, I'm here having to re-provision my supplies because I'm finding out that I am desperately short of a number of important materials, and there's a huge abundance of iron and a fair bit of uranium around. Finding the other stuff is a bit difficult. I'm hoping this guy has some silicon in it. Now, the problem is right now, with these procedurally generated asteroids, my ore detectors don't detect anything until I actually dig into them. I have to basically make a change to them, make them real. Because now I can see stuff in there though. I think that's silver. So I'm going to dig into this and see what we get. Anyway, so this one had some uranium in it too. I always need uranium. I'm actually not burning uranium terribly fast, but I like having a stockpile of it, sort of a security blanket. Okay, so these nodules tend to have different ore than the main body of the asteroid, from what I hear. Okay. Oh, yes! Oh, I just need cobalt. Okay, we need this whole thing. We need this whole thing. Oh, I need so much cobalt. Woohoo! And in we go. In we go. Okay, so this was a good find. By the way, whoever designed this mole and put it up on the workshop, I just want you to know, I love you. This has made my life so much easier. I suck at designing mining machines. I really, really do. This thing is just so much better than anything I could make. Surprisingly resource intensive for a small ship. But, well, not resource intensive, just welding intensive. It takes a long time to weld. God damn it, how much more welding do you need? Your printer can't really print one off without requiring additional welding with a small ship, because it's like all heavy armor. Ah! But, you know what? I don't mind, because it does such a good job. What was that? Okay. Ore is being a little bit glitchy. That's fine. It's all fine. I'm sure nothing is going to murder me. This is what an advanced alien species is going to find when they do finally reach the solar system. These perfect lines of slow-moving bits of useless rock floating out into the void that someone's miner has pooped out for hours and hours on end. We really need more uses for gravel, especially since we've got so much of it. I don't need to make that many reactors. Oh, wait, what? What? What is this doing? They're like colliding and splitting off now. Because I guess some of them are moving faster? That's weird. Oh, good. Some of them are despawning, so cleanup is working. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Server probably hates me right now, but I'm sorry, it's necessary. useless stone. I don't want to. I gotta remember to turn this off, otherwise this is gonna be disastrous. I ended up farting stone into the into the Ina's connector port. That's almost pretty. I took those newly found resources and used the ship printer to print off a small corvette. I figured I might run into something hostile, and risking the Ina unnecessarily seemed unwise. It was also a test of sorts to make sure the printer worked as expected. Hello, this is Polenicus again. Just another little check-in here on exploration mode. I still have not found anything of note. I found that one little yellow ship that fell apart when they updated the servers, but otherwise nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm aiming to end up about 80 kilometers, 80,000 meters away from my from Black Rock Station, and basically every 40,000 kilometers I have to put down a relay, otherwise I lose contact. Why every 40,000, not 50,000? Because 50,000 is the maximum range of antennas, you tell me. Aha! But you see, I discovered that for a large ship antenna, to be set for 40,000 meters, consumes about 150 kilowatts. Now, 2 solar panels, which my little beacon probes have, produce about a little bit over 100 kilowatts each. So that's 200 kilowatts to play with. Now, if you bump up a antenna from 40,000 meters to 50,000 meters, that jump in just 10 kilometers doubles the amount of power it draws. It's now drawing 300 kilowatts, which means it's now overloading the solar panels. It's drawing from the battery, and eventually the thing is going to conk out. No bueno. So I've set it for 40,000 because that's sustainable. So I'm almost at the 80,000 meter mark, and I wanted to do a little bit of exploration around because I didn't really explore much around in the last area. I want to explore around a little bit more, but of course the Ina herself is not ideal for that because she's big and it takes a long time to get up to speed and such. And so the idea is I was always intending to make one of these little ships. This is based on Keen's aero design. And it was one of these little ships that I liked because it had everything. Has everything a starter ship has, but it's cooler, and it's got the neat windows on the front, and it's got weapons, and it's just sportier. And it's got a medical bay in it, so it does everything you need it to do a starter ship to do. And I figured to make it a good little explorer. And it's a large ship, so I can bolt it on the roof of this thing here and not have to worry about it shaking loose. So I've got one back in my base, but I decided to make my own modified version and use it. It was basically what I tested to make sure this printer could actually produce. Now, I only ever produced one in creative, which means all the blocks instantly welded. So I don't know how well this is going to work in survival. I've got all the parts I need. So what I'm going to do is we're going to give this a try, and we're going to see how this works. So, alright. Increase that because we're just pushing it up to get it up to the ceiling. Up it goes, wobbles dangerously. And yeah, I know people are going to say it's probably not a good idea to have pistons on this ship at all. I like this because it's isolated. It's for the printer. The majority of the assets of the printer are the welders. I could have had this is the problem is that most printer designs usually have all the welders on pistons, and they move, and they usually clamshell apart because that's the most efficient way to print something off. But in this case, that would be a bad idea. That would be a hugely bad idea to have that on a big mobile platform like this. So I reduced it down to one piston. I fully expect that at some point that piston is going to snap right off. But if it does, it's no huge loss because it snapped off, true, but that's not a whole lot of resources, and the majority of the printer is still intact, and all I need to do is rebuild a couple of pistons and some projectors and a merge block. Not a huge deal. Now, you could also manually use this 3D printer as if you had a small ship, or a large ship, if you're going to do a large ship design with a, I guess, sort of a projector on a stick, and you would fly it up to this thing and then just sort of draw your vessel down out of it. You could do that as well, and that would work perfectly well. You wouldn't need to use the piston, and if this turns out to be untenable, that'll probably be what I do. And I've seen it bounce around a bit, but I haven't seen it take any real damage yet, so I'm hoping that it's not going to explode on me anytime soon. So far, it's been okay. So, let's turn on the welders now. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to set the speed on this. Okay, that's dead slow. Now, I'm basically going to be going out to the grocery store while this is running. I have heard of people making printers that are able to print off a ship this size in 3 minutes. I don't think this will, but the idea is I can set this to build something for me and then come back to it the next day and it's done. Basically cook it overnight. Now, I know I'm going to have to do a little bit of touch-up on this. In survival, there was only a couple of cosmetic things that needed to be done. There was one interior light and a couple catwalk plates that were covering up some stuff. Completely cosmetic stuff. The ship was fully functional right out of the gate. I don't know if that's going to be the case in this case or not. We're going to find out. Turn that on. And it has to weld that merge block, and they have to reconnect. There we go. And once they're connected, that is the dicey part of it. Is when that merge block is first welded, it basically is floating off into the stratosphere. Okay. It's weird that one side of that welded and the other side didn't. Okay. So let's get this going. I'm tempted to leave this recording, but I don't know if I have enough hard drive space to time-lapse this whole thing, so I'm not going to. But I'm going to come back to this after I get back, and we'll see how we did. Well, I'm back, and that's actually looking pretty good. So, this is my first attempt to easy bake a starship. You can see there's some stuff on there that didn't weld. That's fine. I'm going to turn off the welder so I don't weld my face off. And we're going to go hop in my weldy ship. Okay. This thing's vibrating a little bit. Go. No. Let's go forward. Oof. Okay. Good to know. The thrust on these little azimuth thrusters are enough to overcome what the hell? Overcome the pull of a connector. Alright. I don't know what that was all about. So let's head over here and see what we've got. the surface it looks pretty good. There's some stuff that's normally not welded properly, like these little plates underneath here that I knew I was going to need to touch up. There we go. Looks like all the engines are in place. And the front of the ship is welded nicely. Gyros are in place. It's looking pretty good. And snazzy new black color scheme, because I like black. See, this is why I turn these off. I don't want to weld my face off. I like my face where it is. Unwelded. Okay. Come on. Weld. Weld. Actually, that's a good view. Weld. Weld. No weld? Oh, it's not far enough down. It didn't retract all the way. Did it? No, it did not. Oh, no wonder. No wonder it's not done. It doesn't retract it all the way. Alright. It's not done yet. It's back on. That was my bad. I didn't realize that the... Now, this is the interesting thing about when you're doing projections here, is when you have blocks that don't fill the full cubic volume, like slanted blocks or ramps or cat block pieces or you know, flat blocks. The volume that has to be welded, it's still technically considered a cube, and the welder cannot occupy the same place as that cube. But when it comes to welding, it has to physically touch the item, the actual hitbox of the item, because the welders technically qualify as a weapon. So it doesn't have to hit the cube volume, it has to hit the actual hitbox of the item. There we go. And so welders, you end up with an interesting problem where I ran into with my solar panels on my first few versions of my my probe, where it was putting down a single steel plate and it was putting the frame in place, but it wasn't welding it at all, because the solar panels were on the underside of the cube volume, and by the time the welders were far enough away to actually place the block, they were too far away to actually weld it. So it's an interesting little thing there. Oh, does it look like it fully welded that? No, it did not. Oh, it's still welding. It's still welding. Okay, maybe it'll get it. Maybe it'll complete. Maybe. I suspect I'm going to have to go around and do some touch-up on this thing. But still, that's not bad for the Easy Bake Oven, is it? No. I just Easy Baked myself a spaceship. Not many people can say that. And from the looks of it, it looks like it's fully functional. All the thrusters are in place. Oh. Are they? Oh no, yeah, it is, because the top thrusters are in place too. And when it lands, when it gets down to the bottom there, this is one thing I couldn't correct, is there's a connector on the bottom in the back there. This is kind of stupid of me, honestly, but there's a connector in the back there see the connector on the bottom of the ship doesn't get welded when it comes down. It can't. It tries, it can't. So I have a couple of welders down there by the connector. And so it comes down, the connector links up, the connector gets welded into existence and immediately links up to the ship's stores, which allow me to fuel it and arm it and whatever else it needs. So we're going to let that complete and see how well it did. In fact, it did. So I'm going to stop recording until it's completely done. Alright then, and the ship is done, and it didn't turn out too badly. Like I said, it wasn't done. These didn't fully weld. I had to come in and touch them up. It's just a matter of it just didn't have enough time. It may have been screwed up when I turned up off the welders for a bit, but otherwise it's pretty much the same result as when I did it in creative. These down here didn't weld, of course, because by the time the welder actually could place those blocks, it was already too far away to do it. And there's another one underneath here. I don't think it's possible to print off something that would have to do some touch-up for it, but in this case, I've refined the design enough that it's basically cosmetic touches up. This thing comes out fully functional. The final bit that I'm actually kind of proud of is when it finally does get all the way down to the bottom. And you can see it's complete. The blueprint shows it is complete. When it gets down to the bottom, you have this last connector here. Now, this last connector, I could never get that to weld because by the time it could be welded, because it can't connect to this piece here. Now, if I replace this with a vanilla arrangement of like merge blocks and everything, that wouldn't be a problem. That would weld properly. You also wouldn't need that merge block there, so you'd have different arrangement all around. But I like these things, so sue me. But as this setup works, it comes down, and I wanted it to connect to this connector here, which connects to the ship's stores, so it could be fueled and ready to go. And so what I did is I put a couple of welders down here, and so when it finally drops down to position, that welds into place, and then it links up, and it's ready for provisioning. And as you can see, because it's hooked up to the ship's power, the batteries charge, and everything is basically ready to go. So I am going to put this thing, I'm not going to deploy it yet. I'm not going to go out exploring in this thing just yet, because I want to get to the 80 kilometer mark, the 80,000 meter mark first, before. So I'm going to move this guy out of the way here. There's another water charity ship. I notice anyone who uses the mod, the Advanced Life Support mod. God, I couldn't think of it. The Advanced Life Support mod, anyone who uses that, it doesn't look like the procedurally generated asteroids are generated with water in them, which means that part of the mod doesn't work, which means the water charity ships are necessary. Now, unfortunately, the water charity ships are also armed, so I'm a little bit leery about taking those on, especially don't want to get the Ina shot up. Though she could probably take one, since they only have Gatling guns, I doubt they would do much to her, but I don't want to go to all the trouble of, either flying in there with the vulnerable printer section or undocking and then redocking it and having to repair all the docking damage because the merge blocks suck. They don't suck. They're actually pretty awesome, but you know what I mean. I am going to redesign that whole section there to use Darth Biomech's docking tubes, because I also find that those things don't tend to suffer from the merge block docking damage. Even when you use a merge block to help them sync up, it seems to go much better. It doesn't seem to be as destructive. And so I am going to redo it with those, and that should make it a little bit less of a drama fest to detach that. Just thought I'd give you all a good look at the finished product. Turned out pretty good, I think. I can't claim any credit for designing this. This is Keen's design, but I always liked it. guess the rest of your ship can't be too cool, otherwise you'll be too attached to it and not want to grind it down or anything. Okay. Well, I just thought I'd give you a quick glimpse of this thing. And you can see I've already got a docking spot all set up for it, a docking collar down there for this thing. And the idea is I'm basically going to dock this, but I'm going to go name everything first so that it doesn't get lost. Okay, so that's it for now. Alright, well, this is something interesting. We have a cargo ship spawning in called the Ethereum, and I'm really need resources. This thing is armed, though. This is what I built this particular thing here for, is basically to be disposable. I've got a forward-mounted rocket launcher, a couple of Gatling guns on the side. I believe this guy still outguns me, but I have a heavy human pilot. I'm hoping that's enough, and so we're gonna give this a try. I do know I have a lot of stuff that's awful exposed here. I might lose the ball. If I do, I do. That's what I have the 3D printer for. I can print off another one. I don't think this guy has a missile launcher. As long as he doesn't have a missile launcher, I think I'm okay. I've got my Gatling set to max range because I know his are at 800 meters. I'm hoping that I can pick off his Gatlings without doing too much damage to the rest of the ship, because otherwise this is pointless. Never tried this before. I don't know how good I would be at a combat situation. And this, I would honestly prefer to be doing this in a small fighter, but I don't have one on me at the moment. So I'll have to just make do with what I have. I can just toss a few rocket shots, fire for effect, and damage his Gatlings to the point where they can't hurt me. Further out than I thought he was. Actually, I know exactly how far out he is, but I mean, I didn't think it was going to take me that long to catch up with him. Really? 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 After all that, he despawned. Well, that was a waste. So much for that. Got myself all hyped up for it, too.